What's up, my name's Kiahonfire, and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Of course, the other day there was a live stream, and here I've put together some of my favourite highlights from this live stream that I wanted to talk about with you today, and have a little bit of a discussion about what's coming to Sipta, what I'm happy about, what's coming to the actual normal Conan Exiles map, as well as Sipta and being included, because of course having those two still worked on is very, very important. Because they, you don't just want to sweep the one under the rug and just look after another one. But from the stream, it seems like they are still going to take care of the Exiled Lands map, from what I've heard. So that is very good news. So I wanted to delve into a bit of their questions, discuss a little bit what I felt about them. So let's have a look at this first extract by Natasha and the two devs, Joel and Scott.
So Scott, can you tell us a bit about how the two connect, like the base game Conan Exiles and I Love Sipta? How do those two connect?
So they're still the same core game there, and the same crafting system and harvesting system and thralls, etc.
It's important to mention that you actually do start with a new character from scratch.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
There's new weapons and items to find, but the base feat system, if we make any changes to that, it would be to the entire game and not just to one of the maps.
So yes, as Tasha said, you do actually start with a new character from scratch. So that most likely means there's going to be no transfers when someone says that, unless they plan to add it at a later date. So you will definitely be starting on a character that is completely wiped and fresh. However, I think this is a good thing personally, and you'll understand when you start playing the map. And also with that kind of thing is, if you start max level, you're just going to eat the content in a week and you'll be done, and that will be it, and you will have nothing else to do, because you'll be the best already. That's a little bit harsh actually. I mean, you won't have any of that grind or challenge. It won't be challenging for you enough, if you get what I mean. So I think it's very important to start at a lower level, and then maybe at a later date add that kind of thing in. But at the moment, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me for them to add in a transfer at all, for the type of map it is anyway. Also, with them talking about the same assets used in the way, I had someone ask me a kind of similar question the other day. Will it be, let's just say, they said something along the lines, will it be completely bug-free with it? Well, will there still be the problems of the previous map on this map? Well, because it's on the same engine, same model, same assets, of course you're probably going to still get a few of those old bugs in there as well. It's to be expected since of that, of course, and like they said, that will be a thing in this map as well. So we'll see how much they iron it out. I mean, they've done pretty good at ironing some things out recently, but of course, like I said to that person when they asked me that kind of question, 100 or so beta testers is nothing in comparison to thousands and thousands of people playing on the game and being able to go into every nook and cranny, in that kind of map. So of course it's normal to find other bugs and stuff. So of course no game's ever going to be 100% bug free. Anyway, this brings us on to the next bit point of the stream here.
So the conception of Sipta is that the player is being transported to the Exiled Lands when there's shipwrecks on the way there. So they're still an exile, they're still one of the Conan Exiles, but it's a different setting for the players. So they wash up on this beach at the start of the game on this island, and they have no idea what's going on. And that's where it all starts. So yeah, that was the idea, and it runs in parallel to the timeline of Conan Exiles.
That's right, Sipta is a prequel of Conan Exiles and not a sequel. So it is a previous prequel. Confirmed. So that is good to know. And of course, like we saw on some stream with some of those mechanics, you actually saw the Exile people falling into the map through those surges they were talking about, which was really interesting to see. And all of that good stuff. Anyway, next point.
So one thing that players, of course, are curious about is, how do DLCs work? Like the things you get in Sipta and vice versa, right? Can you tell a little bit about that?
Sure. So when you're playing Sipta, if you've bought DLCs for Conan Exiles, they will work in Sipta. So
So, yep, when they have the DLCs from the previous maps, such as we had, those asset ones, the different building pieces, it will work in both maps, thank goodness. I've also heard that the rhinos will be working in the both maps as well, so that's really good to know. However, there's been nothing really said about the building pieces so far, as I can pre-note back on that anyway. I think it would be nice to at least have maybe them back on the old map as well as the new map, as something nice to have. I actually had a kind of idea of maybe they could have those building pieces in the free time for console, maybe just like a free kind of mini expansion maybe for them to keep them going or something. I thought that would be pretty nice, and it wouldn't be like loads of work to have like a mini little here you go, have some building pieces while you wait kind of thing. Building pieces are pretty they're not that buggy. So I mean, sometimes their snapping issues can be a pain in the bum, but you can't really go too wrong with building pieces since they're kind of the same things as in the other maps, just painted differently and maybe remodeled a little bit around with the design. So, but in theory, it's the same snapping mechanic. So I think that would be a really nice mini free expansion for the console players, perhaps. Just putting that idea out there, It doesn't have to be a 100% woohoo thing kind of thing, But cool idea, all the same. Don't know if that would be rowing your boat or anything, but
Another really cool feature is that with SIPTA, we've changed the base game so that we now support community-created maps. So these will have to be loaded as a mod, but you'll be able to sort by them from the map UI. You'll be able to select them, and essentially, mod makers can make their own maps now and really make their own games.
Yes. Thank you, Funcom. This is something I have been waiting for the longest time. Community-made maps. Community-made maps make the game last so much longer. Just like in Ark, it makes the game last so much longer because you can have more adventures and do more interesting things on things that have been made by people with different stories. So it's something that's really good. And again, good news for console players on that one. With that kind of thing, sometimes that nice little modded map gets really special, and then sometimes the devs pay a little bit of money, well, in most cases, quite a bit of money, to buy the licensings of the map, and then release it for console as well as PC as an official map. So this is a really good start, and I'm sure quite a lot of people would have some fun with this as well.
Let us just quickly go. We did a test live patch today that changed the temperature system. Maybe you can say just quickly something about that, because that's something that will change both for Conan Exiles and for Isle of SIPTA, right, Scott?
Yeah, we did 4 changes to live that are included in SIPTA, which will impact the entire game, so Exile Lands and SIPTA. One of those is a quality of life change to the temperature system. So now, if you have armor or clothing that give you heat resistance, they won't negatively impact you in the opposite environment, right? So if you have something that works really, really well in the cold, it's not going to adversely affect you in the warm instead. So this will allow you to wear, you can do your fashion show and wear what you want. But in the extremes, you still need to be dressed appropriately.
Now, they mentioned about the test live patch that they put in the other day, and some temperature changes here. Now, they did a lot of core game mechanic changes here. Temperature is a quite big one, so usually you're wearing different pieces, and some of them just don't fit. So like maybe you're wearing a bikini, but it's something that's really good in the cold, and that makes absolutely no sense. Well, that kind of thing they fixed up, so it actually does make sense, unless it's in like a kind of extreme temperature. Then you'll more or less need a better climated clothing option. And then, but another thing I want to talk about with this test live, apparently it was a bit of an oopsie that they released the some of the SIPTA assets in there as well for the test live, which I was a little bit wowed by. But yeah, there's some access there a little bit before their full launch was a little bit weird. I heard from some people with mouths that it was an accident or something. I can't 100% confirm that, but it was a bit of a surprise, that they're having that in there, like they would usually do on a normal quality of life test, but this is like a full product, so it's a bit like, wow, okay.
Also, for those of you who think we haven't answered enough questions or there's even more, we're very aware. There will definitely be more Q&A developer questions also after release. We also have some blogs coming your way explaining some of the new features, some of the changes. So don't worry, we will try to be as, what's the term? As transparent. Thank you, Rain. As transparent as we can.
Now, I'm glad they say this, but I really hope they keep their word on it, because it's very, very important. Especially with how the communication was from the silent period all the way from when they announced the new map coming out to now. They were pretty much radio silent on that aspect, minus a few fraud patches here and there. It was a pretty dead year until now for the company in the ways of Conan Exiles, which is pretty surprising for a live service. But of course, I understand there can be a lot of complications with that. I mean, it might be one. I mean, it's a company. You got to think about it. You got CEOs. You got executives. You got all of those moving parts. So hopefully they will talk a little bit more about it. Not get so halted up on it by that. I think it's very important to have a really good communication with your fan base, even if it's just admitting something like maybe. Oh, something was wrong, or we need a little bit more time. Anything like that is so important. And if you just explain it, people start to, well, I mean, you do get your critics, but to a normal person, if you at least explain what's going on, then at least they know. They might not be happy about it, but it's a very positive thing in a way, because you're not just staying silent. Because if you stay silent, then you open up the door to speculation, which is a very dangerous path, because then that just leaves everybody to kind of think things, maybe they're true, maybe they're not. But it's just a way of, it's not good, because we just start thinking where you've gone, and then the speculation of what's happened, or what they're doing, why they're silent. It's, yeah. So I hope they do talk a little bit more about it. I would love more questions and answers answered, of course, like in a stream, maybe with the devs or something, to kind of get some of those griping questions out the way that I know quite a lot of you have in a way, especially those on console. I have seen a few of those questions being answered behind the scenes, but not really in public, so I'd quite like to see that. I think, yeah, communication is so important, even if it feels horrible to do it. I don't know, maybe you feel pressure to do it, I don't know, but it's very, very important just to be honest about things and tell it how it is. Because people will understand it a lot more if you just kind of explain it truthfully and how it is, down to the bare bones, you know? And I think people will probably respect you a lot more if you were to do that. So kind of like a good example actually was last Oasis devs when they released their game. I know it's pretty sleeping now because they got a lot of work to do, and of course that's kind of natural that it happens to a kind of game like that. When it comes out first and it gets really popular, it's going to die down after a little bit. But they were actually really good with their communication. Even the devs came in and talked fully about their situation, why the servers weren't working, yada yada. I don't know if you know about the situation, but pretty much they just explained what was wrong and what they were going to do to fix it, and just the consequences behind it, or what they needed to do. So, of course, very important to have communication.
And while we have like weather effects on Conan Exiles on the original map, like the sandstorm, there is snow and rain, there is a quite different weather occurrence on Sipta, right?
Essentially, what you'll see whenever you play is that this storm is one of the many mechanics that are in the map. And it'll be something similar to the way the sandstorm works, where it's something that periodically occurs on the map. It's not going to be there all the time. It's going to have very unique effects compared to the sandstorm, creatures to spawn and attack you. And we kind of wanted to live up to that promise in Sipta and say that we have this storm that occurs, and then while you're in it, you're attacked by monsters.
Also, the storm has this lightning thing going on, and whenever the lightning comes down, there is a new batch of monsters being spawned, right?
So this guy is pretty much explaining that there will be a storm that will kind of be like how they envisioned the sandstorm, so with creatures spawning in it and coming after you, like you saw on the clips in the background. We saw that one spawning in with a lightning bolt. That's what this guy is kind of explaining. So we have a more juicier sandstorm. Essentially in this one, they've worked out a way to do it which is I'm really excited for. Actually, I've been playing with it, so it should be pretty fun, I imagine, and I hope they keep it spicy as well.
All right. So this feature is also leading into another one, right? They are actually connected, which are the vaults.
That's right. So again, without giving out too much information, there are several major systems that come into play in this map, and all of them are intertwined. So participating in one lets you participate in another, and so on. And the vaults are essentially our new dungeons. There are 14 vaults in the Isle of Sipta. All of them have unique monsters.
14 different vaults. That is a lot of dungeons. So this guy goes on to talk about they're intertwined. There's like several different mechanics that are intertwined. So essentially what you talked about earlier, and then this, and then what he's going to talk about later, all combined into one.
Yeah, so the Surge, as we mentioned in the reveal video, is going to be the way that you obtain thralls on the Isle of Sipta. As you play, there won't be just static camps of thralls. There will also be another event happening with the Surge that causes some to appear outside of these areas, which we call these ley shrines, and you'll find that out in the lore as you read through it. But at a ley shrine, you can summon thralls to fight and capture, and outside of that, you may also find some that have been placed into the world as a result of the Surge, and that'll happen in a very theatrical, very obvious way when it happens.
So now they go on to talk about their next kind of big mechanic, and that is thralls are not at static camps anymore. So you won't have the same kind of experience with going to get thralls as you would have on the old, Exiled Lands map. So they've totally changed the way you do it on this map. So they were talking about the ley shrines, or ley shrines as I seem to call them because I can't pronounce things properly. But yeah, they have that, and then random things happening around the map, apparently, that also have to do with thralls in relation to the Surge, as this very nice guy was explaining.
Is called the Delving Bench, and the Delving Bench lets you use materials that you find on the island to learn how to research schematics for legendary weapons. So you as a player now, instead of going to grind mobs to get weapons and having to use repair kits to repair them, can learn how to craft legendary weapons and repair them yourself.
And then he goes on to talk about legendary items will now be craftable via this new special bench that you learn at the special Ley Shrine place. So that is really cool that you can actually make your own legendary weapons. I imagine I'm definitely going to have a little look at that and have a little deeper look into that, especially when the game fully comes out. Then I might explain a little bit more into it, because I imagine there'd be a lot to do with that kind of possibility. There's so many legendary weapons in the game. And finally, one last kind of really important thing I thought to note was the new building bits they're adding in. So yeah, this guy was talking about adding a new T1 building piece, which has never ever happened since Sandstone, let's be honest here. This is going to be our second T1 building structure piece. It's been well overdue. We've been stuck with just the normal kind of T1, T2 for so long, but then there's like a gazillion options for T3. I'm hoping maybe they'll do some DLCs in the future maybe as well, or maybe just free building packs that will invite some more T1 to T2 building pieces, because you do spend a good portion of the game with these, these tiers here, especially if you're on like a PvE setting and maybe you've got a lot to grind. You spend a long time in that kind of base, so it's nice to have something really different and crisp. And this is like the only one I've ever seen with a material kind of roof. So, a fabric instead of just something built in tile. Like the other ones, they've pretty much all been tile or wood, and then this is fabric. So it's totally different, which is really nice to see. And yeah, love it. And then they go on to talk about the storm glass that they have. And that's that's the tier 3 they were talking about. And that's to do with massive windows. And these windows, I guarantee you, are probably going to look good in pretty much combined with most DLCs, because we haven't actually had proper big windows yet until now. So I really like to see that. I really like the theme as well they have going here with putting it in relation with the Art of Arts. So absolutely lovely jubbly there. But yeah, that's some of the points I thought I would point out in the dev stream there that I thought were important to kind of talk about, or maybe spoil, if you didn't watch it yourself and maybe want a shorter video of it all explained, or just want the juicy bits. Well, I hope I provided some of that for you today, and of course maybe a little bit of a further explanation into it. But yeah, I really hope Funcom do that stream they were talking about to explain it a little bit more about consoles, etc. I hope to expect to see that. It would be really good, and of course, communication, very important. Love to see it. So fingers crossed. Please keep your promise. Please, please, please. But anyway, thank you for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.